Yeah, Coach, how happy were you with the way your team bounced back after the SDSU game over the past week?
Yeah, I thought our young ladies really defended at a very high level this past weekend. I thought it started with Thursday night with our game against Omaha. Really found a way defensively to do two things really well. One, I thought we did a good job of holding our opponent down in terms of field goal percentage, and certainly that's something that's really important to us. I think our defensive field goal percentage was about 27% in that game. But then sometimes there's the second part of it where you want to turn teams over to the best of your ability and kind of disrupt what they're doing. And we were able to do that too. I think we forced, 23 turnovers, if I remember correctly, in that game. And so I think it's certainly a combination of kind of sometimes that's a little risk reward, and then we were able to do both in that game. And then it carried over into Saturday. I thought Saturday we did a nice job defensively again against Denver. They scored a little bit more, but the tempo of the game was a little bit faster too. But then we held them down. I think it was like 36 or 37% defensive field goal percentage. So, defensively, I thought we had a great weekend again.
To say this, whether you're playing like obviously an SDSU or if you get a major conference team that comes in like you had with Oklahoma, is it kind of tougher to? Do you think is it kind of tougher to keep the kids just kind of I don't want to say motivated, but just kind of keep them kind of up and on point when the crowd? You go from that atmosphere of having a bigger crowd, the big game atmosphere, to it's not quite as there's a few less people and it doesn't quite feel as quote unquote big as it did certainly like in past like an SDSU or like a big non-conference game.
Well, and I think our young ladies understand that every game is important, certainly, and I also believe that now they also understand that we prior to this past weekend, we only have 6 regular season games remaining, and so it's really time for us to continue to kind of ratchet it up a little bit in terms of becoming a better version of who we are. And defensively, we were able to do that again, Zach, and that was really good to see.
And I guess the final thing I was going to ask is I think these are your last road games, if I'm not mistaken, coming up this week. What kind of things do you want to see here that hopefully, to your point about ratcheting it up here as we get to the conference tournament, what kind of things do you want to take out of this coming weekend that hopefully get you just a little bit more prepared to go into Sioux Falls?
Right. Well, I think there are a couple things. You go on the road, and one of the things we really focus on is finishing plays at a very high level. And so, limiting second chance opportunities, playing hard defensively, playing smart defensively, trying to disrupt your opponent, but doing it without fouling, something that we certainly focus on, whether that's at home or on the road, but certainly really important when you go on the road. And then I think on the offensive end, you're working to be efficient, but the quality of your shots is important while taking care of the basketball. And so that was something that I thought we did a really good job of this past weekend. We had at least a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, and we really didn't make shots from the perimeter as efficiently as we had been. And so, but we took care of the basketball, and I thought that was something that's important. That's something that's really going to be important going on the road against St. Thomas and against Western Illinois.
Dawn, Liv's only 20 points away from 1,000. How much does that mean to her? And when you look back at the career she's had, what jumps out to the front of your mind?
Yeah, it's really exciting for a player. That's a huge milestone, and so that's kind of a fun moment in time. And certainly, I'm sure she's really excited about it. We don't really talk about it. There's enough stuff out there in this day and age of social media that I'm sure she's plenty aware of it, and so are her teammates. And so I don't think it's a surprise in any way, shape, or form. But I also think from her career standpoint, it's just been fun to watch her continue to grow. I think she had another game of 5 assists on Saturday. So not only is she scoring the ball at a really high level, but she's also passing the ball at a really high level. She sees the game and sees the floor, better than most players that I've ever coached, because she's kind of a step ahead and is ready to make a pass. And sometimes kids don't even realize that they're really open, and all of a sudden the ball's hitting them in the hands, and that's how Liv is.
Was she always that good of a passer, or was that something she learned throughout her time at USD?
Well, I think she learned how to do it within the scope of what we run and our motion offense, but she's always been a really good passer. I'd like to take credit for that, but I don't think that we can take any credit for that.
All right, good enough.
Don, just 4 games left in the regular season. Does it feel like this season's kind of flown by?
Yeah, it's going fast. It does. I had to ask our staff on Saturday after the game, I'm like, is this the next week? Is this President's Week coming up? Is this our Monday practice different? They're like, no, it's Valentine's Day. I'm like, I don't know, it's February already. I can't keep it all straight. So it's flying. It's happening. I think it's been, certainly after Christmas, there was a lot of trepidation about what was going to take place. Well, there were so many games that were canceled, more games canceled at that point in time than there were last year. And so, it's just been one of those where you kind of hold your breath and continue to hope that you get games in, and you don't take that for granted anymore. And that's certainly something that I think has kind of shifted your attention away from, okay, we're just kind of keep playing and keep progressing. There's also another part of it that you're also still always cognizant of the ability to keep playing games.
Yeah, Grace Larkins continues to get more and more playing time and keep producing at a high level. How has she just progressed, during her freshman season from the start of the year to where she is now?
Well, I think she's learning how to do a couple things. One, she's really good defensively and she gets a lot of steals. She's trying to do that without reaching in because she likes to get a lot of steals, so without putting herself in a position where she, creates a foul trying to create something. But I think she's also someone who is understanding the physicality of the game, and is someone who's doing a really good job on both ends with that. I think she's someone who is starting to hit the offensive glass even more than she was early on, and that's been really good to see. And then she's continuing to grow her game offensively, where she attacks the rim and takes her time to make decisions, but also, is shooting the ball pretty well from the arc, and that's been really good to see that she's gaining that type of confidence. It's different when, you're kind of thrown into it as a freshman and then figuring it all out, and I think the game is starting, to be a little bit more comfortable for her because she plays so fast, and we want her to do that, but we also want her, to see what all of her options are while she's playing fast.
Grace actually didn't have a great shooting night on Thursday, but she shot 7-8 at the line. I guess, what does that say about her growth as a scorer?
Yeah, she's someone who really does a great job of attacking the rim and is able to do it in a lot of different ways, and she's someone who we'd like to get her to post up a little bit more too, because I think she has some length, but she gets some opportunities on some quick cuts, some back cuts kind of scenarios. But she's a very good driver, and I think now we're starting to learn how to go at contact a little bit more than she was early on, and so she is able to get to the free throw line, and that was really good to see.
And Chloe mentioned on Thursday that the win streak wasn't really discussed as you guys were going through it. I guess, have you noticed that it's been discussed a little bit more now that it's over and you're trying to restart a new one?
Well, the only people that discuss it are the people outside of our team. So, yeah, it's been I think it was discussed while we were going through it outside of our program. It's discussed now, but it never is something that we as a team talked about, as a program we talked about. So we don't see a difference in it at that point.
I guess just out of curiosity, why is that just something that you try to limit the conversation, or is that just unconscious thing that it's not something that you focus on?
Well, we don't talk about winning in our program. We talk about doing the things that help you be successful, and then let the results become a part of the process, a result of the process. And and so we don't focus on those type of conversations. We focus on what do we need to do to get better, and how do we focus on individual aspects within the game, within the possessions. And so it's just somehow how we approach things, I guess.
Coach, does seeding in the Summit League tournament really matter, especially once you lock yourself into one of the top two and you get that Sunday off if you win? Does it really matter at this point, whether you're the one or the two at this point?
Well, Zach, I think it comes down to, one, we're fighting to hopefully be in a position to secure a conference championship first and foremost. That's something that's really important. So we have to do our best to take care of business at this point. And then when you look at seeding, I think the bottom line is it comes down to matchups when you get into tournament time. But we're not talking about those kind of things yet, because we're just focused on who we are on a Monday and focus on our development. And then we start focusing on St. Thomas at that point in time, after that point in time, and then Western Illinois. And so, I think it's premature for us to start looking at those type of things. But I will tell you from experience, when you get into tournament time, it's all about how you match up with teams. So whether, and I don't know how that affects, what does your seeding do? I don't know, because it depends on how other teams finish as well and what that looks like. But you're right, it is very advantageous to be one of the top 2 seeds and have an opportunity to get that first, to get that day off, in between. I think that's really, really big if you're able to, win your first one and keep playing.